What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is United vs. Everybody. I am your host, Sean, and we are back tonight. Bonus video, because usually, you guys know I usually wait a night to do a match reaction, mostly just to get everybody out of our feelings, especially myself, right? No one wants to sit here and watch everybody rant and rave. We don't want to create an echo chamber of negativity and outrage. I get it. But it was such an early match and it's been such a long day. I figured it's kind of the same, so decided to come by tonight and do one. So I know I called a 2-all draw in our match preview, but I'm never happy with predictions like that when they come true, especially because nobody wants to draw, right? But again, I just had a feeling it was going to be 2-all. I did have a feeling we were maybe going to get the goals, but I didn't think we were going to be able to handle a lot of what Everton do because we're just so shit at defending the box, and something we're going to talk about a little later on as well. Part of me wishes my power had gone out, like the electricity had gone out in my house for the entirety of that first half, though, because that first half was a shit show. Everton were just better than us in so many areas. And honestly, Everton really only have themselves to blame for that because they did take their foot off the gas a little bit and they just kind of allowed us to get back in the game. And then this is why goals change games. Goals are big moments. These football matches are really all about momentum. And we grabbed a hold of something. We got a little moment from a brilliant Fernandes free kick. And then it was the momentum. And then it's just like the Spurs match. We kept sustaining a little bit of pressure. Now, again, it doesn't mean I thought we were good. I thought we were shit. But Everton really shot themselves in the foot by just letting us back into that. So we're going to dive into the match because I want to hear your thoughts on the players, on Amorim, what he had to say after the match, and on the result, right, as we do get a lucky point in our last match at Goodison Park. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for me if you are new. Check out the membership perks if you want to learn a little bit about how you can get involved in the channel in terms of just scouting reports. You guys know I do scouting reports in terms of topics of discussion for when we have this time in between matches. Obviously, this week's going to be hard. We've got a match coming Wednesday and then another match this weekend, so that would be hard. Or then when I have people come on, like Dylan, Joel, Justin, or even yourselves, if you want to go as far as to look at that membership option as well, you have the option. But there are plenty of ways to get more involved. We are on the road to 3K, so hit the subscribe button too. If you are new and you like what you hear, share it too if you think other people might want to get involved as well. I have no problem with that. The more the merrier in the United vs. Everybody community. So a little bit of transfer news to kick things off. We've been talking a little bit this week. Obviously, Victor Osimhen's name has come up quite a bit. But Dean Jones has now thrown his hat in the ring regarding our reported interest in Victor Osimhen. He has gone so far to claim that United have decided to prioritize Victor Osimhen this summer. He adds that while Osimhen is currently on more than $250K a week, mind you, United are apparently hopeful of convincing him to take a pay cut. Yeah, because that happens all the time, right? Hey, do you want to come to less money to play in not Europe in a shit team right now? Sounds amazing. Who wouldn't want that? That ticks all the boxes, right? I don't see it happening. First of all, like I said, Osimhen's not going to take a pay cut. I don't see that happening at all. It would be easier and cheaper to sign Victor Gyökeres. You could even triple Victor Gyökeres' current wages at Sporting because he's only on like less than 50K. You could triple that and it would still be cheaper than trying to get Osimhen to drop, even if Osimhen dropped. It's just ridiculous. So I don't see that happening, but you guys let me know what you think. I know a lot of people really like Osimhen. I have no problem with Osimhen. We're not paying a release clause because we don't have money, and release clauses have to be paid all up front. That's just not happening. We can't even afford loans in the January window. We're not paying 75 million release clause. Not going to happen. But I think that Osimhen, I do like him. I worry that there's a reason that he kind of fell out at Napoli. There's a reason no other big clubs really came in for him. Maybe it was just a matter of other clubs not being able to afford him. I don't know. He seems like the kind of player that Arsenal could use, in my opinion. Obviously, we could do with you guys know I want an experienced, clinical, proven striker. I do. We really need that right now. And I think that Osimhen does tick those boxes. But I do worry a little bit. Obviously, the price is going to be a big hit. But you guys let me know what you think about Osimhen. That's pretty much it for the news. There wasn't a whole lot of news going into this weekend. Obviously, as other things pop up this week, and then as we do our preview of the Ipswich game, because that's coming really quick on Wednesday, we will talk a little bit more about any news that pops up. Usually we get stuff like that on Monday, but let's move on to this match. Don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't yet, guys. So starting with the starting 11. So interesting start 11. This is the first time that Ugarte and Casemiro have started together under Ruben Amorim, I believe. I don't think they've started together since Rude was here. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Garnacho started on the bench, which I do think is good for him. I do think he does have a knack of coming on as a sub and having an impact. Obviously, you remember his first real season under Ten Hag. There were a lot of numbers that showed that him coming off the bench, he had a lot of goal involvements. And yes, he's getting older, but again, his decision making in the final phase of attack is still not quite progressing as quickly as I would like. Obviously, he's still young, but young is relative. Young when you've already been playing first team football at this level for a couple of years is very different. And I'm not trying to go in on Garnacho. Really, I don't want him to go the same route that Rashford went, where you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again in terms of that final decision, and it doesn't improve. Rashford still makes those bad decisions, and granted, he got a couple of assists today for our Villa coming off the bench, but we haven't seen that in a United shirt in a long time. People are so quick to go in on United for getting rid of Rashford, but people forget too, Rashford literally wanted to leave. So I don't know what you do at that point as a club, but it is what it is. As far as Garnacho starting from the bench, I mean, not everyone's going to be happy about it. For sure one person wasn't happy about it, and that was Samuel Butthurst. What did he have to say on Garnacho? I thought this was hilarious. This is what Samuel Butthurst had to say this morning when Garnacho was on the bench. He said Garnacho was the last player to come into the ground and was trudging. Easy to see why, looking at his name among the substitutes. Missed a big chance last week, but was more of a goal threat than the two, quote, strikers. So apparently it's okay to have poor body language and to drag your feet and basically pout that you're not in the starting 11. That's cool. That's okay, is what basically Samuel Butthurst is saying there. Garnacho, literally the lowest conversion rate in the Premier League for players who've had, I think it's like, I can't remember if it's 10 starts or something or 10 shots, but it's like 2 out of 14 big chances that Garnacho's missed. So no, he's not more of a goal threat than our other two strikers. When he played with Dorgu recently, constantly ignoring Dorgu's runs, bad balls, trying to find Højlund. Like Højlund could have had a goal in the last match had Garnacho's ball been better. Garnacho was a little less selfish today. He was able to try. He was looking to find teammates. So it's clear that Ruben Amorim has said something. You need to get your head up. You need to find your teammates. You need to stop being selfish, make better decisions. And today we saw a little bit more of that. So clearly it is what it is. But if he's having poor body language, according to Samuel Butthurst, then we know that those are the kind of things that Ruben Amorim looks at as well. And there's a reason if you're not starting, if you're getting dropped, and we already saw that with Rashford as well. So if that's the case, then Garnacho's got to fix up, because Amorim's not going to stand for that. You don't get to pout just because you didn't start. You're still young. You're still learning. You're still making mistakes. And there are other players in the team. If you want to start, show that you have earned it, deserve it. The players pick the team, whether it's training or performance, and that's the way it is. So, but that was the starting 11. Let's look at some numbers in the game here, because it was really, I don't want to say it was a tale of two halves, because I didn't think we were excellent in the second half. We were better in the second half than we were in the first half by far, but it does not mean that we were good. But we were a little bit second FC, and not for the first time under Ruben Amorim. He does seem to have some weird way of doing something at the halftime, but I don't understand why we have to wait till halftime to switch on, why we have to wait to up our tempo to reach a different level. I just don't get why we can't start matches like that. Is it just because we don't travel well? Is it just Everton are better? Is it just that we're shit? Like, you guys let me know what you think, because it's very, very frustrating from a fan standpoint to watch it and see it happen. But yeah, again, tale of two halves. First half was very poor. Despite having 58% possession, which we said in the preview, we were going to have more possession. That's how Everton want to play. They want to sit a little deep, make it hard to break down, get a little physical, and they want to hook it long. Now, the difference that Everton we saw today was that David Moyes has added is that high press, is that energy. Decore pressing Onana left and right, forcing the ball wide, forcing us to start to play these long balls, really making it difficult for us to get out of our own half. And they did a good job of it. We know that we're shit against high pressing sides. We've been like that for years, though. That's not an Amorim thing. That's a these players kind of thing. Now, whether it's a quality thing or a mentality thing or a combination of both, these players just cannot hang with energy, with physicality, with pressing sides. We can't handle it. It just is what it is. So yeah, despite having more possession in the first half, our XG was shit. It was 0.04, garbage. And compared to Everton's 1.41, the golfing class there was evident, to say the least. And ours was literally just from a set play. We have 0 XG in the first half from open play. Like, that's how hard it was for us to get the ball out of our half. And we had no shots on target. We created no chances. One accurate cross in the first half. We lost most of our duels, more than 50% of our duels we lost. Only 2 successful dribbles in the entire first half alone. Only 2. That is absolutely ridiculous. Dylan, what's up, man? Dylan in the chat, welcome, man. Totally think the press thing is mental. They look panicked whenever they've been pressed. Yeah, they look like, I'm not trying to hype myself up because I'm shit too. But like I was playing on Thursday with Justin. You can tell the people, like even at like indoor, when they don't really play, because when they get the ball and then someone from the other team comes and closes them down, they don't know what to do. And this is exactly what we look like whenever we get pressed. We give away the ball unnecessarily. We hoof it long. We doesn't go where like Onana hoofs it and it just goes right to midfield to an opposition player. It's embarrassing, man. RSV, big up. A couple of Michiganders getting involved tonight. Big up. He says, I'm glad that we fought back in the second half, specifically the last 25 minutes. I mean, yes, we fought back. Yes, we got better in the second half. Yes, we pulled it back, but it took a bit of moments of magic. It took some luck. Took a piece of brilliance from Bruno on that free kick, especially. And we did. A lot of people are going to say we got lucky with the VAR thing. We didn't get lucky. I called that dive in real time when it happened. Ashley Young diving? No, never. The guy literally feels a little touch on his hip. The ball's not going anywhere near him, by the way, and it's going onto his left side. And we know Ashley Young from his time at United has no left foot. Literally has no left foot. Like, I've got more of a left foot than that guy does, and my left foot's just for standing. But yeah, total dive. Plus, it was literally the same sort of challenge that we were not gifted a penalty for earlier in the match. Literally the same thing. And so I'm not one that says that we were saved by VAR. VAR got it right. I hate when people are like, oh, United have this many, VAR overturned decisions. All that means is that there were that many decisions that were initially given incorrectly. Like, all that means. So it is what it is. But big up, RSV. Good to see you. Dylan says, hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's doing well, too, because it's, yes, we got a draw. We got a point. But at the same time, it's just, my wife happened to be downstairs. I'm surprised she got up early enough to come and chill. But she could tell that I was not in a good mood from the start, because I wasn't expecting a whole lot. And she could tell that I'm not in a good mood when I'm quiet, when I'm not saying much, when I'm not even like showing frustration at the mistakes, at the poor. She can tell, like, oh, he's not happy right now. And normally these kind of things ruin my day. I'm really trying not to let it ruin my day, but hope everyone's doing well. We have had enough hours in between, right? It's been like 10 hours. I think that should be fine. Yo, Box, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Teresa, welcome back. Good to see you. Teresa says, it seems there was a failure to implement what they are delivering during training to the actual match. Not Amorim's fault, so why must he be held accountable? Well, at the end of the day, Teresa, that is the nature of the job. You know, at the end of the day, managers are always the ones that go, because you just can't. That's just the way it is, and they know it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying I want Amorim gone or anything. It's just the nature of the job. You got to find a way to get results, and he's got to find a way to get results consistently right now, because we've seen Ineos have no problem correcting decisions. They got rid of Ten Hag 4 months after giving him a contract extension. They chased Dan Ashworth for months, sacked Dan Ashworth at the same time. They have no problem doing that. So Amorim, I mean, sure, he's probably been told, like, yeah, you're fine, we get it, but at the same time, we're flirting with the bottom 3 places, and he's gonna have to get results, because we've seen that they have no problem swinging that axe. But again, to answer your question, that is the nature of the job. I'm not saying it's Amorim's fault. I'm not saying the players aren't to blame. We know and the reason we know, Teresa, is because we've been here 6 times now in the last 12 years. We know what the issues are. The issues started at the top and they trickled down to the bottom. Shit rolls downhill. For years and years, it was top 4 or bust. When we've seen now these players kind of throw in the towel when it seems like top 4 is out of question. We've seen them throw in the towel for different managers, so they're just completely down tools. And now it's starting to feel, and we're going to talk about this a little bit. Today was the first time I've really felt like these players are giving up. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But good to see you, Teresa. Welcome back. Bach says, Garnacho made the impact for us and Bruno stepped up again. Yeah, Bruno went from having a shit-ish first half to a much better second half. Garnacho did come in, and I think the biggest thing I saw from Garnacho was not just him being lively and getting on the ball. It was his decision making. He was happy to try to find his teammates today, and that was the difference I thought from Garnacho. And that's what we've been wanting to see. If you can come on, you can do that more. Yes, take your shots when you get them, but find your teammates. Get your head up in the final third. Don't get on the ball and then immediately see nothing but the net. You have to get your teammates involved. RSV says, also, I do respect other people's onions. I'm sure you mean opinions regarding Højlund. I understand that, but for me personally, he is not defendable anymore. He can't do the basics. His timing and positioning is woeful in the box. We're going to talk a little bit about Højlund because your line right there, he can't do the basics. I literally have a sentence in here because my sentence is, yes, we can go in on a Højlund for not being able to do a lot of the basics, but if you look at a lot of the stuff we were doing today, nobody is doing the basics, and we're gonna flesh that out a little bit, RSV. So we'll come back to that. But well done there, man. Højlund should switch his career to WWE. He always tries to manhandle the opposition CB while trying to get the ball. He may not be a hold-up striker, but he needs the basics. I mean, to be fair, he is doing the basics in the box, and we saw that against Spurs. He was getting into good positions. He could have had a goal today too. It just is what it is. Dorgu didn't have an accurate cross today. Again, that does make a difference as well. So I'm not defending Højlund. I'm just saying there are lots of it's like triangulation. It's easy to look at one stat and say that person is bad or they have, but you have to look at a couple different stats in context and kind of triangulate a clearer picture of the match, of the performance of the player overall. So RSV says Garnacho still ignored Dorgu a couple of times. Yeah, Garnacho is probably going to do that. And yes, he was lively. He was causing a little bit of problems. And ultimately, nothing. He didn't really help a ton today, but he looked better. And again, the biggest thing for me for Garnacho was his selflessness. Now, like you said, he's going to ignore Dorgu. It could be a combination of, again, Garnacho just kind of being selfish, having that tunnel vision, and maybe for the last several years just not having a natural overlapping left back playing with him. That in Dorgu, this is the first time all season in Dorgu's last couple matches that we've seen someone kind of bomb forward and get involved and be an outlet for a left-footed cross. We haven't seen that since Luke Shaw, like in 22-23, because Dalot can't do that. Dalot has to cut in onto his right. It was the same with Ashley Young. Agile B says, Onana should focus more on goalkeeping skills and less time at the dentist. Oh, does Onana at the dentist this year? I have thoughts on Onana. I didn't think he was horrible today until that last moment where he spilled that ball back in the danger zone. Bach says, Ahmad ignored Dorgu a lot. I don't know how frequently did Ahmad... They only had that one match together, right? So I'm not sure. And Dorgu only played the first half. Dylan says, Onana's decision-making is so suspect at this point. I have got thoughts on Onana, so let's keep going with some of these numbers. I appreciate everybody. Keep getting your thoughts in. I'll come back to them. Because we just talked about a little bit the first half. Again, only one cross that was accurate, less than half our duels won, 2 successful dribbles in that first half. Again, that belies a complete lack of trying to match Everton's physicality, Everton's energy. When you're losing your 1v1s, I've said this many times, that is where games are won or lost, is those 1v1s. The duels, your dribbles, and your take-ons. If you're not doing those, if you're losing those in the first half, it was shit. It was like mid 40% for our duels. Shit dribbles. We were not great. Second half was better. Not by much. Now, we upped possession by another 10% to like 67% in the second half. That was because Everton really kind of let us back into the game. We did outperform our XG to grab those 2 goals, and we actually managed to triple our shots on target in that second half to an impressive 3 because we didn't have any in the first half. We did improve our 1v1s. We did improve our duels and our dribbles, again, which is where you're going to win and lose. But again, it was just like that Spurs match in the cup. It was just a little too late. If we would have just done the second half stuff in the first half, who knows how this would have gone. Second half FC, I mean, but it doesn't mean we were great. Again, it was just better is not necessarily good. It's just better. You can be better than shit, but still not great. It's just the way it was in the second half. It was really, really annoying. Ajabi says he has the novelty white veneers. Interesting. I didn't know. I didn't know that. So RSV says Donato, Hoyland, Maguire, Casemiro, De Ligt, and Dalla were the worst. Is there anybody else? Did you get them all? I think you might be the whole team you listed. He says I criticize every player who performs bad, especially consistently, but a striker and goalkeeper are the worst, are the most important positions. Yeah, goalkeeper is hard because in order for the goalkeeper to get into these tough situations, literally everybody in front of him has to have made a mistake. And then usually the problem with the goalkeeper is like if a midfielder makes a mistake, the defenders are usually there. The striker loses possession, you've got the whole team behind you to kind of help you out. The goalkeeper makes a mistake, there's nobody behind you. There's nobody to help. You're literally the last line of defense. And so the mistakes from a goalkeeper are going to be amplified simply because you are the last line of defense. This is why I don't criticize keepers when they concede goals in these breakaways, these 1v1s, because what can you do? People were going in hard. I think it was in like Onana's first season when Mo Salah got a breakaway and like had a 1v1 and scored. And I'm like, how are you criticizing keeper for failing to stop Mo Salah, literally one of the best attackers this league has ever seen? From a skill standpoint, I don't call him a Premier League legend. One Premier League title does not make you a legend, in my opinion. But what are you supposed to do in that? I don't know. It's like you can't stop that. Anyway, let's start with the positives. So while we're talking about Dorgu a little bit, I thought, to me, Dorgu was the standout performer in terms of the squad. That doesn't mean I thought he was class. It doesn't mean I thought he was a 10 out of 10. But comparatively speaking, I thought Dorgu was probably our better performer. He had enthusiasm, he had energy, he had physicality, and he had a willingness to try to just make something happen, to try to get on the ball, to try to just pull his team out of the shit. Everything we were creating was coming through him. Now, again, his crosses weren't great, and he needs to improve on that regard. He just needs to get those dialed in. But he was the only one of our players who just looked up for it, who just looked like they were capable of doing something, especially in that first half. He was actually the most fouled player in the match. So clearly Everton thought, like, this, we need to just stop this guy. I thought Maguire looked up for it. Maguire always looks up for it, mentally speaking. Now, the problem with Maguire is that just because you're mentally there doesn't mean you have the technical skill, the speed or whatever to handle it. And that's the difference. People were too quick to say like, oh, this player should be the captain or something because they're the best player. That doesn't make you the captain material. I think Maguire, mentally, he's there. He could not hang with the pace today at all, the physicality. And part of it is he's being put in a shit situation. You don't want to play out from the back with a player like Maguire. It doesn't help, especially against the high press. But the guy who was winning the tackles, he won like all his tackles. He was winning a shit ton of aerial duels today. He's making a lot of clearances, and he made 3 interceptions, Maguire, though. He's doing very well. I think that, again, I wouldn't say he was best. He looked up for it. Dorgu, again, to me, is better. It's damning, though, in Dorgu's case, that a 20-year-old who's been here for like 2 weeks was our best player on the day. That's really not good. What are you guys saying here? Box says Xerxes was better than Hoyland, but Xerxes lost quite a few balls. Yeah, Xerxes, I got numbers for you. Xerxes wasn't great. But then again, this is what we've seen from Xerxes. It's really high, and then it's low, and then it's high, and then it's low. We need him to kind of, I don't even need him to be high. I just need him to be not so low when he is low. RSV says Xerxes also misplaced a couple of passes. Yeah, a lot of us did. Box said De Ligt didn't look fit, in my opinion. Didn't look at the races. De Ligt looked a little sloppy, a little panicked. And I'm going to go in on that as well. But he was a little shaky today. The defense, I got a whole section for defense. We're going to talk about that. Agile B says, does Maguire have a can of WD-40 for his hips? Maybe. Now, you guys know I'm never going to go in on a player because they're not fast. I've said many times that speed to me is not the most important. It helps, but if you can read the game, if you're good positioning, if your football IQ is good, you don't need to be the fastest player. You can position yourself. Now, it doesn't help that, if we're playing a high line or we're building out from the back, those are like the two things that you do not want Maguire doing. So it is what it is. But he's slow. He is what he is. Now he's got to accommodate. He's got to kind of make up for that in other areas. And then Amorim also needs to recognize. But this is why Maguire is playing in that central position. So and I said it in my preview. I knew what Everton were going to do. They're going to play long balls. All he wanted to do was for him to win those balls. Now the problem is when you see that Maguire is starting, you see that De Ligt is starting, you see that Mazraoui, who's not a natural center back, are starting. Everton also added that extra layer of that high press because none of those players are very, very good on the ball, barring maybe Mazraoui in that situation. So they had our number there. You got to get fair play to Everton. RSV says Dorgu's ball carrying ability and his crossing at times are a cheat code. They can be. Now again, his crosses weren't great today, but he was the only one who's looking like he was getting into it. Box says Dorgu has a great knack of getting a little tap, but wins free kicks. Yeah, he's very good on the ball, especially in those tight areas. We saw that last match. I think that, again, play him on the left, get those natural left-footed crossings, get Garnacho to get his head up and find him on the overlap, and I think you're going to see him cook a little bit more. And he was even getting involved in the underlap today. We just need to find him more. I don't think we're used to that because Dalo wasn't doing that. Hi, Kai. How are you doing, man? Good to see you again. Agile says, Maguire is terrible. We pay this person £5,000 an hour. That's harsh. He's not terrible. He's not the best center back, but he's, again, and then ironically, again, and this is why I say when it comes to players and signings, it's the system. You guys are going to see this when we talk about summer targets and things. It's all about the system. I have to filter it through the system. When I did the Licha replacement video a couple weeks back, which I think the link is still in the description, that replacement video was filtered through how we play and what Licha brings. Like you have to put it through the system. We can't just look at like Lamine Yamal right now and say, let's get him. We don't play with those kind of wingers. It's just is what it is. We're not going to play with these poacher strikers who just want to sit in the box and get on the end of headers, which is why, yes, we were linked with El Nassiri, but he doesn't really suit the system we play. And so, but that's what I did. Like when I did the Licha replacement video, it was all left-footed, good on the ball, strong mentality. Those were the players I targeted. So you'll see if you go check it out. But yeah, welcome back, Kai. On Bruno, so aside from his goal, which was awesome, by the way, and the marginal improvement when he moved into a deeper role in the second half, I thought Bruno was just a little sloppy. He was playing a lot of really bad passes. They were not going anywhere. They were behind. They were ahead. He was giving away the ball unnecessarily. He was just sloppy. And it's ridiculous to me that he's the one taking corners too, because I've never seen him really take a decent corner that comes to mind. He was one who looked honestly, a little disinterested, a little just kind of like switched off in the first half. But again, then when you go look at the stats, they do tell a different story. At least in the second half, when he moved into that deeper role, because both Bruno and everyone else kind of woke up in the second half. He had the most dribbles, most completed passes in the match, created 2 chances. He had both of his shots were all on target, 7 of 11 ground duels. So again, he's actually doing the dirty work in the duels. 3 out of 4 tackles for Bruno as well. But the problem is, again, his delivery recently has been shit. His crosses and his long balls were shit. Only 2 out of 12 crosses for Bruno were completed. Only 7 of 13 long balls. It's just not good enough when it comes to Bruno getting on the ball. Again, and we wonder, we can say, like, why isn't Højlund doing anything? Well, 2 out of 12 crosses for probably the best chance creator in our side. That's what is any striker going to do with that? It doesn't matter. I'm not saying Højlund is class. I'm just saying no striker in the world is going to do anything when 2 out of 12 crosses from your best player on the pitch are not going to you. It just is what it is. Again, that second half, though, was for Bruno, is where his numbers started to improve. Again, going to that deeper role, maybe there's something there. I'll let you guys decide what you feel about Bruno in a deeper role. You guys know my thoughts on it. Box says Bruno was feeding Dorgu. Yeah, Dorgu was making the runs, and it was only when we signed Dorgu that we started having that outlet. I said that against Spurs because I did think there were positives. Dorgu gave us a little bit more room to breathe on that side, having that natural left footer, having someone who's comfortable receiving the ball on that side on their left and then delivering the ball on their left. It saves you time. It gives that other player on the left-hand side, Garnacho, a little bit more to work with. Now, Garnacho's just got to do a little better on his end as well. Ajabi says, I marginally prefer De Ligt, but we can't play both Maguire and De Ligt in the same team. I'd like to see 2 new fast CBs in the summer. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. Like I said, go check out that video. You can see who I'm looking at. I did do another scouting report on Pavlovic at AC Milan this week as well because I completely forgot about Pavlovic. But yeah, a lot of left-sided center backs. One of whom in my video is free in the summer. You can go check that out as well. Um, Box says Casemiro was playing some Hollywood balls today. Casemiro, him and Ugarte it's always a little interesting to look at the pairing because on paper I'm like I don't know if I like that, but it works for a little bit. On Ugarte, for missing a match, he wasn't bad. He wasn't as involved as I would have liked, but he wasn't bad. He had 2 out of 2 tackles, 7 to 12 duels, only dribbled past once, 4 out of 5 long balls from Ugarte, and he actually completed 39 out of 43 patches. And obviously, he scored his goal, so not bad. Casemiro kind of did a little bit of a journeyman job today. Not 7 or 8 out of 10s in any area, but kind of just like that 5, 6 in most of the areas, which is fine too. 3 out of 6 tackles, so half his tackles. 7 out of 8 duels for Casemiro. He only completed 1 out of 5 long balls. So, like you said, those Hollywood balls, they're cool if they work, but when they're only 1 out of 5, then maybe you need to stop. He was trying to play 6 passes into the final third as well. So, again, off and on in some areas for Casemiro. I need him to be a little bit more on in some areas if he's going to have a place in this team. But again, he's not in the plans, so he's playing because of injuries. Dallo, another poor one, very sloppy, looked a little shaky personally, especially when he tried to clear that initial ball into the box that led to their goal. I don't know what he was doing with that one. It just went straight up in the air for I just don't get it. Dallo defensively is a liability. 1 out of 6 duels, no tackles despite trying to make one, 0 dribbles completed. He did make 3 interceptions, but again, what this shows is he had a little bit more defending to do, and that's just not his jam. It's just not his jam at all. But Dallo is one of those players who I think is probably on the way out soon. Agilby says Hoyland is playing bad right now. Needs some time out the team. I still think there's a player in there. We need another option. Yeah, and you say, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I think the same thing. There is a player in there. Hoyland is not Giroud. He's not a hold-up player. He's not even really a poacher. Hoyland is a Jamie Vardy. Hoyland is a runner. It's only recently that we started playing it. We need people behind him who can progress the ball, because when you just trying to get from back here in our third to Hoyland and he's isolated trying to play against 2 or 3 defenders, that's not going to work. No striker is going to have a good time with that. Find me a striker who's going to be able to do that. We need players who are going to get the ball. He can get involved. And Xerxes did that against Spurs, but we just didn't see that much of it today. But yeah, well done. RSV says Bruno in a deeper role works against low blocks, in my opinion, but I don't think it'll work against the top teams who will suffocate us and play high intensity. Bruno offers no physicality and pace in the pivot. Pace, no, but like we've seen, like I just read you his tackles and his duels, and it was the same at Spurs. For some reason, he looks like he does get involved, but he's just been a little sloppy on the ball, and his positioning is shit. Like he has 0 discipline when it comes to sticking to his position. Box says Ugarte playing the right wing late. Yeah, he was getting a little more involved, and Bruno was kind of at the end. It definitely looked like Bruno was dropping deep and trying to just play quarterback really and let everybody kind of get up there. It looked like we were trying to win the ball back a little higher up the pitch. Dylan says, "Thanks, Box. Glad I wasn't seeing things." It's like when Harry Maguire just like when we're trying to get a goal and we just keep Maguire up top and we just try to hoof a ball in there for him to head back across goal. Dylan says, "I thought maybe I had too much coffee." No, you definitely didn't. Agile says Hoyland's spidey sense in the box really needs to improve. He's moving, and the problem is it's like I would argue that yes and no. Yes, it needs to improve on what he's doing now, but we saw under Rude, we saw last season under Ten Hag that he was getting goals and he had good movement. He was clinical. The question is what happened? Did he regress to the mean, like every striker that we signed? You go back and look at the numbers for a lot of these strikers we've signed in the last several years. They start well the first season, and then everybody takes a dip the second season. I don't know why that is. Second season is also when the managers start to get, pressure. Maybe the stress is just bleeding through everyone in the squad. Could not tell you, but again, Hoyland, 18 goal involvements last season, one of the best conversion rates in the league, our top scorer. This year, I don't know what happened. I really don't. So, Agile B says, against a dominant midfield, Bruno is a no-go deep. Yeah, he can't hang with the press. Like against like Newcastle or like Liverpool, no, not going to happen. But you have to have someone in that midfield though, in that pivot who can be physical, but who can also pick a pass. And that's why I like guys like Hayden Hackney very much. I think they can do a job like that. Kai Hansen says Bruno's a good player, but too chaotic to play for other disciplined players like Casemiro or Eriksen. Yeah, we've said that Bruno is just a little positionally undisciplined. He does kind of revert to type a lot when the pressure's on. He'll start playing those Hollywood balls a little bit. He'll start just hoofing things or taking these wild last shots from outside the 18 that go into Rosette or Rosie for my American brethren. Moving on to defense here, De Ligt, Mizraoui were a mixed bag. Of the two, though, like you guys were saying, I thought De Ligt was probably the worst. He was just a little shaky under pressure. He gave away a lot of needless corners, just bad clearances, bad attempts to clearance. I appreciate the effort to try to just boot it, but the technique was not there, and he kept giving away corner after corner after corner. He did put in a defensive shift, made 10 clearances, 2 interceptions, completed all of his tackles, all of his ground duels. So wasn't like a horrible. It just wasn't to the standard that I expect from De Ligt. And like someone said, he looked a little off, so I'm not sure what was going on there. Mizraoui did win a lot of duels. He won 11 out of 15 duels, but he was doing way more defending today, Mizraoui, than kind of starting that phase of attack. Again, we were getting pressed, and so it was constant, not really an opportunity for him to play balls. He wasn't really progressing it, and then when he was on the ball, like everyone else, it was just he only completed 1 out of 6 long balls. So again, when you're playing against the press, it's really hard to play an accurate long ball, but when someone's closing you down in your face. This is why I always tell players, when you're close enough to the keeper, press the keeper, because they're going to boot it, but the more you press them, the more inaccurate that long ball is going to be. More often than not, it's going to go out of bounds, or out of touch, sorry. Ted Lasso out here. On Onana, up until he spilled that shot into the danger zone, like I said, which he does often, which is one of my biggest criticisms of Onana, I didn't think he was bad. I didn't think there was much he could do for some. The problem was the people in front of him, I think. And he has a part to play in that because he does stay glued to his line. He does not communicate. He does not control his area. We know all that. But when you've got the ball bouncing around off a set play and no one's clearing it, I don't know. At some point, I just wanted him to come out and just punch it. Like, it's all I did that the other night. I'm playing keeper second half, and yeah, like it just is what it is. Sometimes you just got to come off and just punch it and then fuck whoever's in the way, right? He did make a nice save in the second half, but I'm still done with Onana. I said that the other day. Like, I'm done. He's just not good enough for me in any one single area when it comes to goalkeeping, let alone 1 or 2 or 3 of those areas. I'm not saying I need a 10 out of 10 from distribution, shot stopping, communication, clearing the I don't need 10 out of 10 in a keeper from that, but I need at least like a 6 out of 10 in 1 or 2 of those areas from Onana, and I'm just not seeing it. I need Bindier to get fit, which honestly is, again, it just tells you where we're at right now. Let me see what you guys are saying here. Agile B says, surprised we didn't see Eriksen. He can unpick a pass better than anybody in the team. Yeah, if he has time on the ball and space, Eriksen on the ball will be fine. And I think I would have liked to have seen him maybe picking some of those passes than Bruno, but it is what it is. He's another one that probably looks like he's on his way out. Agile B says, why not play Maz, Yaro, and Heaven for one game? And if it doesn't work, bring Slabhead and De Ligt back in the team. Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on this week. Because what's today? Saturday? Saturday. Wow, I thought today was Sunday. Look at that. Because we do have Ipswich on Wednesday. So we're going to talk about that because I do think Ipswich represents probably the closest we're going to get right now to one of those kind of like free hit experiment games to maybe give some minutes to some of these youngsters. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later on this week. Kai says, we should get another goalkeeper. Do you think that Rasmus works better with Eriksen? I just think it's hard. I don't think it's down to just 1 or 2 players being involved in the side. I think it's just the players themselves need to do a little better at progressing the ball, finding the strikers. We don't find the strikers very frequently. And I think that we need to just up the tempo a little bit when it comes to, like, if you want to build out from the back, fine, but we got to move the ball quicker. We're too slow on the ball. And I don't think we have the players to do it. We saw this under Ten Hag. It's not just an Amorim thing, but the problem is it is what it is. And when it works, it works. We lost our best defender when it comes to playing out from the back and picking those passes. And now we just have to make do. So I wish I had a better answer. Because I just don't think it's down to one or two players. But do you think that's like a nationality thing? I don't know. But I think that Leach was picking out Højlund a lot before he got injured. And so I think it's just down to players have to get their head up. Players have to be willing to play that pass. And yes, it's on Højlund to make the runs. I do think Højlund is getting fouled more by defenders than people are realizing. He's winning a lot of fouls because these defenders are holding him. They're the ones grappling him. He has no choice. Now, he can do a little bit more to make himself harder to grapple and move. But when he's being told, like, we're playing you this way, like, what are you going to do? Go against the manager? What's going to happen when you do that? It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. We're asking him to do something he's never done as a striker, as a young striker, because that's just not his game. Box says, Heaven barely played at the under 21 level. Yeah, he just played recently. Not like the last game. He played I think a week ago or so. I can't remember now off the top of my head. Dylan says, Onana just doesn't have it. He's a decent keeper. Doesn't work in the Prem. I think Onana just, again, it's the mentality thing. I mean, he went from being like the best keeper in the Champions League when Inter got to the final to just the worst in the Champions League the following year when we get knocked out of the group stage. I don't get that. With Onana, I think it is all pressure. Now, he could say he doesn't feel it. I don't believe him because I'm watching what I see on the pitch. I'm looking at his facial expression, looking at the way he reacts. I'm watching him for several minutes after he makes a mistake that leads to a goal, and the guy just can't shake it. He has zero resilience whatsoever, and we've seen that from a lot of these players, though. Agile says, Onana pairing balls back into danger is a killer for us. Yeah, I can't remember. I'm losing count now, just in the season alone, how many goals we've conceded because of that. We did it against Brighton. We did it against Palace. We did it against Forest. We do it almost every single match against Spurs. It's just Leicester. It's just all, and part of it is the defenders are just, the shot goes in and then everybody stops. No one watches the runner. No one realizes there's still danger, but he's got to stop doing that because this is what's happening. Box says, Onana must be on 10 assists this season, but for the opposition. Yeah. Raja, big up, Raja. How are you doing? Raja says, big up. Are you wearing Valencia's kit, though? This is just an 0910. This is the one I wear for, like, mowing the lawn or, like, fishing or something because it's pretty, you can't tell, but it's pretty beat up. The AIG's falling all over the place, but there's nothing on the back, if that's what you're asking. The only ones I have anything on the back are the ones that are in these frames. It's just one more thing to have to worry about taking care of when you're washing and drying these jerseys, because you're supposed to lay them all flat when you dry them. But I don't do that. But I try to when I hang them, I try not to hang them so that any print is folded, because if it dries that way, then it kind of stiffens that way. I'm very meticulous when it comes to my football shirts. Agile, he says, we don't ball carry through the middle, and that's why we're easy team for low blocks to defend against. Yeah, we're not very good. We saw a little bit of it with Xerxes against Spurs. And again, he does have a knack sometimes, Xerxes, for kind of finding a way to come out of those pressure situations with the ball at his feet. We saw it again today, but it's too mercurial for him. It's either it works really well like it did against Spurs. Yes, we lost the game, but he did really well, or it's just not. So today was somewhere in between, but we need more players like that. Like I said, you guys know I love players who can move the ball with their feet and not just hoof a long ball or something. I need players who are press resistant, who can create space for themselves, and who can carry the ball. I want ball progression in so many different ways. Incisive passes, not just looped long balls. I want ball carriers in the midfield and on the wing. Agile B says, Dogi was a ball carrier, which is why he looks the best player in the team. Yeah, he was our best player today, which, again, when a 20-year-old who's been here for 2 weeks is your best player on the day, that's not good. Roger said, hey there, Box. How's it going? Yeah. Agile B says, you should never put them in the tumble dryer. Let them air dry. Yeah, I don't dry them. I have a couple of clothes racks that they get thrown on there. But you guys can't see. Maybe one day I'll do I'll turn the camera on a little bit and you guys can see some of the other frames, and you can see the embarrassing amount of football shirts I have in my library. I had to get a rack, like a mobile rack and a bunch of hangers, because I just have too many. It's, again, never a flex. It's always just an embarrassing admission of how I choose to spend my money. I don't ever buy them from the club though. I'm proud of that. But they all pretty much come from eBay. But Raja says, "Go get Lingard for number 10 in right wing." What do you guys think about that? Are you on Rajat's feelings? You guys think Lingard could come back and do a job? What is he, like 30, 31 now, Lingard? He looks about 24 all the time. So, I mean, that's interesting. So those are some of the numbers. What did Amorim have to say after this one? Because you guys know that Amorim also has thoughts. I've got thoughts. Um, don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't yet. Please subscribe for me if you need to get your thoughts in. Here's what Amorim had to say. We didn't have any energy in the beginning, especially in the first half. Then in the second half, we played a little bit better with a little bit more speed and winning second balls. Oh, wait a second. That wasn't from this match. That was from another match. But I left it up on purpose because we can see that this is a recurring issue. Amorim is literally saying the same thing in multiple matches. So that's what he said in another match recently. This is what he said this time. We managed to recover second half, but we didn't exist in the first half. So the feeling is disappointed. But we need to play both halves to compete in the best way because at this moment, we need to win. We are losing the ball without any pressure. We are not doing what we were supposed to do, and then it's really hard. So, I mean, a little bit of a piss take on my end, but I went to go to put the quote in, right, to make the slide, and then I saw that he literally, it was almost carbon copy paste the same exact thing, and I'm like, why are we continuing to see this issue? Why is Amorim having to come out multiple matches now on the bounce and say, like, yeah, we didn't do good in the first half, we did better in the second half? Like, why is that a problem? Why can't we start a game? Like, do we just need to like hypnotize the players and tell them that the opening whistle is the start of the second half, so they just think that it's the second half and like, okay, I'll play football. I'll remember I'm a football player today. Like, what the hell, man? It's freaking annoying. Jules, welcome, man. How are you? Hope you're doing well, my friend. Been a minute. We were just going over some of Amorim's quotes right now, talking about how frequently we see these quotes from Amorim regarding a tale of two halves, basically. Basically, what he is saying here, though, is we didn't change anything from a tactical point in the second half, but we shifted our mentality. We were doing the same things. We were just doing them better. And Bruno kind of said the same thing. This is what Bruno had to say. Then we suffered 2 goals from second balls. It was clear that they would create their chances. So we were soft. Yeah, again, we were soft, like I said in the title. Here's what Bruno had to say. We had to stick to the plan. That's what the manager was very upset with us about. In the second half, we stuck to our ideas and played with much more freedom and movement. And so it's just, again, it's finding a way to marry Amorim's system with what the players are better suited to in some ways. So a little bit more freedom, a little more movement. But again, same tactics, just better mentality in that second half. Really friggin' annoying, man, that we're having to say the same shit time and time again. LB says, I just watched the second goal again. What a calamity of defensive errors. Back 3 and Onana just watching the ball like a plane going by. He is literally petrified to come off his line. I don't know if he's just... Here's two things. You guys can let me know what you think this is. Is he still worried about that situation that happened last season at Wolves where there was all, like, the media would not shut up about the non-pen for him hitting that player and getting away with it? Is he still petrified of that? Or is he just not good at that situation? I'll be honest, I'm leaning more towards the latter because anytime I've seen Onana come off his line, he's stiff as a board. He looks uncoordinated. He just doesn't look like... He looks like it's the last thing in the world he wants to do. He does not look comfortable. I don't know what you guys think, but it's really, 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 really annoying. Jules says Maguire made a lot of errors in this game. Maguire's job was to win a lot of those aerial balls, which he did, and he made quite a few interceptions, and he won all of his tackles. Maguire's problem is he just can't do shit against the press. Against a high press, he's going to lose the ball. He's going to get caught on the ball. It's just what it is. And the problem, too, with Maguire, again, is that mentality. Like Agile Beast was saying, and like you're saying, the error for Maguire is usually, for me, when I watch him, it's mental. It's not taking the initiative with defending these set pieces. Why is that ball bouncing around everywhere? Like, somebody just yell, communicate. Somebody just take the initiative, get rid of it. I don't care where it goes. Get rid of it. Where are the leaders? Where is the mentality in that situation? This is why Maguire is not captain material. because he doesn't have that mentality. If Johnny Evans was still here, if Leacha was still here, you could bet your ass they would be taking charge in that situation. They might not be winning the header, but they would be doing what they could to make sure that that ball is fucking gone. So those are Amorim's thoughts. Those are Bruno's thoughts. I have some of my thoughts. As always, you guys know I like to share my 3 thoughts on the match. So get your thoughts in as we go along. It's hard. It's always hard to kind of whittle these things down into 3 kind of main points, but I do what I can. I could stretch it into 5. Usually at the end of the season is when I give 5 thoughts on the whole season in its entirety. So we did that last season. We'll do that again this season, but Bach says the young dive was epic. Yeah, I was already talking about that. I'll talk about it again because in real time, I literally looked at the TV and said, that's a fucking dive. The dude feels a little bit of touch on his hip, and then somehow is like his hip bone's connected to his feet bones because his feet just flew out from underneath him, and he just took a nosedive. And I was like, that's embarrassing. And we, being United fans, we are familiar with Ashley Young's histrionics, we'll say, to put it politely, but the guy that was as big I knew it was getting called. They took so long. I was like, this is getting chalked off because that's embarrassing. But oh boy. Moving on. Number 1, unacceptable. Just unacceptable from these players. These players were an absolute disgrace today from top to bottom. Aside from a few, these players didn't show up until after Bruno Fernandes scored his free kick. That's when they decided, okay, we can play now. That goal went in, and I mean, how many times have we seen this though too? How many times have we discussed that when things are not going well, when we can see goals, when we're struggling, these players just kind of give up. It takes a goal, it takes something for these players to be like, all right, we can do this. Like, it shouldn't do that. Like, this is the littler definition of resilience: how you respond to mistakes, how you respond to challenges, adversity, setbacks. Where is the resilience? Where are the leaders? It's unacceptable from these players. I mean, we discussed the rumors this week, right? About how there's this reportedly these players are kind of starting to lose faith in the manager. We talked a lot about that, mostly about how we've seen this from every other manager that we've had since Fergie. We literally get the same article written around this time, right? But I'm going to be honest with you guys now. And I'm not trying to, sky is falling. I'm not trying to catastrophize. I'm not trying to say Amorim out. I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm trying to be genuine. Watching that first half today, this was the first time this season under Amorim that my mind shifted from these players are shit to these players have given up. Let me know your thoughts on that. The first half display looked like they'd given up, either just on the season or on Ruben Amorim, or what they looked like they were just phoning it in, which is ridiculous because if things don't improve, it could get a lot worse. But I don't get it. Maybe they think they're safe. Yeah, we're not winning anything. We're not finishing top 10, let alone top 4. We're not winning anything. We're probably safe from relegation, really, if you think about it. There's no way we can just not win any matches. We'll probably fine. Like, maybe that's their thought. So they're like, we don't have to try hard anymore. We'll be fine. But I don't know. It's freaking annoying. And you know what? If they are giving up, that's fine. Benched a lot of them. If we're likely to avoid relegation, just bench them and play the kids. Because that first half was a disgrace. Completely unacceptable. But this is also why I don't do player ratings with games like these, because what's the point? Agile B says, Maguire's a poor jumper. He's billed at being elite in the air, but watch him how high he can jump at his maximum. Nowhere near Van Dijk or Konate or Gabriel. Well, the difference between Maguire, and again, this is why I think it's more mentality than anything. And yeah, sometimes tall people aren't like as just powerful in their jump. That's fine. Being tall doesn't make a difference, which is why, I mean, it helps. But like, I had a roommate in college. So I'm like 6'1". My roommate in college is like 5'9", but he's an athlete. He played cornerback and receiver in high school football. He's got ups. We will play basketball, and yeah, I'm tall. I can get my hand up there, but he's out jumping me because he's just a better athlete. It just is what it is. Sometimes you are better athletes. Sometimes with trying to win headers, it's about timing your jump. Sometimes in Leach's case, it's about just a little nudge here and there just to kind of throw the player off, get you, because Leach used to win a lot of aerial duels. The same with Jules Koundé. when we were linked with Jules Koundé a couple of years ago, and I really wanted him, a lot of people were like looking at his height, like, oh, he's 5'10". No, I'm like, no, but he's actually like he wins like the most aerial duels in La Liga when he was at Sevilla. But Maguire's problem, and especially if you bring up all those other center backs, agile beasts, is again, this is why I think it has more to do with mentality. I'm not saying you're wrong. There's another layer to this, in my opinion. He doesn't attack the ball. Whenever Maguire tries to win a header, he's always on the back foot, and he's always back, and he's trying to get it back like this. He never attacks those balls. Look at Virgil van Dijk. Look at Ibrahim Konate. Look at Gabriel. They're attacking those headers. They're on the front foot. They are literally in their mind already saying, I'm winning this header. Fuck everybody else. Maguire's just like, I hope I win this header. And then he's passing it back. Like, it's a mentality thing. There's a difference between jumping on the front foot and attacking the ball and jumping off the back foot and trying to like just get your head on it. Like, and that's what I've never seen Maguire attack a ball. The one ball he attacked was against Leicester, and it should have been called off for offside, but he got a goal from it. But does that make sense when I know I've said that a couple times on the channel, but does that make sense when I describe it like that? Because that's what I see from Maguire a lot. Dylan says they look totally out of their depth. Some aren't good enough. Some can't handle the pressure. Both sets of issues bring down the team and those that will fight no matter what. Yeah, and again, we talked about this concept of the O principle too. When you've got players who their negatives, they don't just like stack. It's not like, oh, he's got a couple of negatives. The negatives, they multiply, they spread like ripples in a pond, because one player's negatives, i.e. maybe Maguire's lack of pace or Casemiro's lack of speed in midfield, probably a better example, it forces all his teammates around him in that circle to have to compensate for that, which then takes away what they're doing, and you lose what they offer in that regard. It's a ripple effect when you have a player like that. And when it's mentality, whether it's speed, whether it's ability on the ball, press resistance, tracking back, whatever, it's going to spread. Box says, we seem to always look low energy or have the lowest running stats in the league. Been like that since the 4-0 defeat at Brentford. It's been like that for a minute. Jose complained about the lack of fitness. Ollie complained about the lack of fitness. Ten Hag complained about the lack of fitness. Amorim complained about the lack of fitness. It's not just these managers. Changing the managers is going to do it. We need players who are going to fight for the badge. Now, you're going to have to go through a bit of a rough patch, because the kind of players that we can afford, the kind of players that we want to start identifying, these young, hungry, first or second contract players, they might not be world class. They might not ever be world class. They definitely probably won't be that when we sign them. We can develop them, hopefully. Like Ronaldo wasn't world class when we signed him, but we made Ronaldo what he is. We can do that. And maybe after a couple of windows, we can sprinkle on the Cantona type signings that really kind of are the final piece of that puzzle that can elevate everybody. But it's not going to happen right away. It just is what it is. Box says, must be the Carrington area. It's something I don't know what it is, man. Maybe those Magpies are just shitting on everybody. I have no idea. Again, unacceptable. Bruno managed to pull one back with that goal, but that was that goal, Bruno's goal from that free kick, was our first shot on target. Let that sink in. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I didn't even celebrate that goal. I wasn't pouting or anything. I just emotionally, mentally, I just didn't celebrate. There was no reaction from me watching that goal. It wasn't a conscious thing. It was literal subconscious. I'm just like, I wasn't even excited because I was still so angry. I did celebrate Ugarte's goal, though. I celebrated the shit out of Ugarte's goal. He was quiet until then, which wasn't bad, but it was his first goal for us too. I think that's maybe why I was celebrating that, because I celebrated the shit out of that. But again, it was frustrating that it took Bruno's goal to wake us up. Once again, as you guys are saying, we were outworked, outplayed by a side. Honestly, we should be beating. No offense, we should be beating. Now they're under a really good manager bounce right now with Moisey. He's added a couple strings to his bow as a manager with that high press as well. We should be beating them still, though, with these players, but it just is what it is. Not winning second balls, not completing simple short passes, losing possession under zero pressure, not ever as fit as our opponents, like you guys have said as well. People go on and on about Højlund not doing the simple things, like I said, but literally no one in this squad right now can do the simple things. Nobody. Find me one player amidst all these players who are doing the simple things just well. Kai says, would you get Son for free next season? No, because Son's form has taken a nosedive in the last couple of years. He's gonna look back on his career with Spurs and be like, "What the fuck did I do? Why did I go to Spurs?" Um, he's just not looked good recently. It's just every time I watch him, he just doesn't look like the Sonny from like 4 or 5 years ago. But it is what. No, I wouldn't. Would you? Let me know, Kai. Agile Cheetah looks a unit at 17. He's massive. When I was there last month with my buddy Justin, you guys know Justin. He's been on the channel. We went to the academies, the under 18s when they in the FA Youth Cup when they played Preston. Cheeto is a unit. He was easily the biggest player on the pitch that match. He's a freaking unit. He's got a really, really good touch. Jewel says, I didn't celebrate either goal for the same reasons. Yeah, I think it was more because I was happy for Ugarte. Like I said, it was his first goal for us, and I was just glad. But I did not celebrate that free kick goal, even though it was a really good goal. But let's see. Moving on, you guys get your thoughts in. Don't forget the like button if you haven't yet. Moving on to my second point. We've already talked about this a little bit, but it bears repeating because it's a problem that we've seen time and time again. I've made jokes about it. I've complained about it. I've probably featured it on the channel a couple times, but I'm so annoyed right now. Clear the danger. Just clear the danger. You got these set piece goals. No one is helping Onana at all. This is why I don't blame Onana a ton. Like, yeah, he's glued to his line, but look at all the shit that there's. It's literally a mosh pit of people just jumping up and down trying to get that ball out of there. And I wouldn't want to jump into that, but at the same time, you have to come and do it. But clear the danger. I don't care who does it. Somebody get rid of it. This is just another game where we're fucking standing around. Everyone's glued to the spot. No one's taking initiative. We're all just watching things happen while the opponent just is able just to play, follow the play, scores a goal. Almost carbon copy again of the kind of shots we've conceded. When there's a save or a deflection, like it's so annoying. Both goals were like that. It's so annoying. Literally, everyone's just standing there. And we've already talked about the numbers are all right, but it's in our own box recently that the defending is letting us down. We're just not staying switched on. We're not alert to the situation that's happening around. We're not alert to the danger of the opposition in our box. The in the box defending, the failure to clear that, the failure to just handle that situation has caused us. Like I said, De Ligt looked uncomfortable. Maguire was winning headers, but he's not this initiative player, this leader in that area. We gave away too many corners needlessly because of those panicked, sloppy touches. Mizraoui's given away a couple needless fouls as well. Like, it was just sloppy from the defending. And I thought that, and again, like Maguire, his positioning for some of those situations was just not great either. But this has been like this for years. We can't clear the danger, and it's so annoying, man. Box says, I celebrated the VAR overturn like a goal. You'd fit in around here, man. Here around Detroit, we celebrate first downs when the Lions get a first down like we won the freaking Super Bowl. At least we used to. Now I guess our standards are a little higher, but I'm not a Lions fan, so it doesn't really matter. Agile B says, agreed. I was dejected. Yeah, I was just mad. Like, I literally just was like, I looked like Anthony Martial the whole time. Just no facial expression. I was just kind of pacing a little bit, just kind of shaking my head. Like, you guys remember when Tebowing was a thing? You guys remember that shit? When Tim Tebow was a quarterback and there was this thing where everybody would just kind of go like this and stuff. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start call it Rubening, and I'm just going to start getting in a full squat with my hands just down like this, and my head like this, and we're just going to call it Rubening. And I'm going to start doing that from now on because this is how this team's making me feel right now. But yeah, we need to do better defending. We need to clear the danger. We need to get our box organized. Whether that's Onana, whether that's one of the defenders, or all of them, somebody, you're not wearing the armband, fine. You still can be a leader back there. I've said it like 18,000 times on this channel. Do better with this box defending because it's costing us goals. It has cost us goals recently. When Onana spills the ball in the danger zone, yeah, I get it, but where's everyone else? We're just standing there. We're just watching things happen. Like, they're literally doing the same thing we're doing from our TV screens. Like, somebody get on those. Fucking annoying. Hope you guys as annoyed as I am because I'm fucking annoying, man. All right, moving on. Number 3. Abandoning principles versus learning. It's not as black or white as the media and fans or whoever are making it out to be when it comes to like sticking to a system versus changing it as you're learning. Because I've said it recently. Amorim is a young manager. Part of growing and developing as a young manager is you have to be humble. You have to be reflective. You have to be insightful enough to look at the way things are, look at the system, and you have to know, okay, is this working? If not, how can I tweak it? There's a difference between learning and growing and just completely abandoning. Just because you change a couple things doesn't mean you're abandoning your principles. Again, you can find a way to marry the mental side, the tactical side to the players you have or whatever, but you have to be able to do that. We all watched Ten Hag struggle to get these same players to adequately build out from the back. And it was a struggle, like I said, like heart and mouth time over and over again when Maguire is getting pressed. And we saw it again today. Watch those guys, or he or Lindelof or Varane, try to beat a press or carry the ball in the first phase of the attack out of the box. I think has permanently elevated my blood pressure to just a new baseline. Like, it's not healthy. I'm about to get a prescription for like a hot tub just so I can just have some place to relax from watching this team. What we really needed to do in that first half was move the ball quicker, move the ball cleaner, beat that press, maintain a few decent spells of possession to kind of get that going. We just couldn't do it. The number of long balls attempted versus the number of long balls completed was staggering. Like, if you add up all the attempts that all our players made, it was like single digits compared to like well into the 20s for attempted long balls. Not good enough. No one was confident on the ball. We were getting pressed. Nobody was making any moves to try to be an option, which is a big problem. But the press really forced those long balls. So fair play to Everton. When you force the long ball, more often than not, it's not going to be accurate. Now, again, in the second half, Everton did take their foot off the gas a little bit, which is what led us back into the match. But that was the only way we got into it, was because of Everton doing that. Again, as a young manager, like I said, there's that fine line between abandoning the principles and learning from the experience. We just have to see it happen. We don't have the players for that slow build up. It's really annoying. There were some times where we did manage to get the ball into the final third, and we did look decent when we did it. Again, we just didn't do it enough. Even when we did get the ball out of our own third, our own box, they were quick to close us down. Garner was all over us. Idrissa Gueye was all over us. They were double teaming whoever had the ball. There was a moment where Højlund, he did really well to win the ball. He did really well to turn and make space for himself. But again, as soon as he did, Garner was right there to win back possession. Like, that's just the way it went. It felt like they always had an extra player. They were constantly fighting to win everything. The quality just wasn't there tonight. It was freaking annoying. Box says, this set piece coach needs to earn his check. Yeah, our set pieces are shit, man. Agile B says, maybe Amorim should go to church with Tim Tebow. Maybe. You never know. I'm sure he's praying. It looks like he's praying out there on the touchline. If he's not, he needs to, because shit, I don't know. I don't think even Jesus could save some of this shit right now. I saw a stat going into this one. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was coming from the BBC, I think, is where I saw it. That United have failed to score in 10 Premier League games this season, which is just one shy of our club record. So our club record of not scoring in the league season is 11. We're just one shy. I mean, Everton are the only one who have a worse record in the current campaign right now than us in terms of scoreless. So at least we didn't break that record today. I mean, there's still time, though, so we could. We love these bad records at United these days. And then Alan Shearer, I saw Alan Shearer said heading into this one that Manchester United haven't scored a goal from open play in the first half in 17 games. That's a little embarrassing. We managed to do it today, but it's freaking annoying, man. Mad Hatter says, welcome, man. We got to drop the 3 in the back crap. Try a 4-4-2. You want us to try a 4? When is the last time we saw a 4-4-2? If we don't have the midfielders for the pivot in this system, we're not going to do it with this. I don't think that it's an issue of, to me, it's not an issue of 4 at the back or not. I don't think, to me, it should be almost better to have 3, and then you've got the other wide options. Like 3 defenders mathematically should be doing better than just 2 defenders will in terms of your central areas, right? The problem, I think, is just we're not getting the ball up the pitch. We need to get a little bit more bodies in midfield against certain opposition who like to be physical, and we need to have some more movement in and around. We just need better 10s, personally. But I don't know if a 4-4-2 is going to ever happen. We only have one striker. Now, I have suggested in my 5 steps to save the season video, maybe switching to a system that Amorim has used in the past that isn't just this 3-4-2 and maybe like a 3-1-4-2, which is really like a 3-5-2, which he has used, or like a 3-4-1-2, where you've got like the midfield pivot, but then you've got maybe someone as a 10, and then you've got 2 runners ahead of him as well. I think that shoring up the midfield, getting a little bit more movement, a little more bodies up in higher areas of the pitch so our striker isn't just always so isolated, I think could help. But again, I'm not the manager, but welcome back, Mad Hatter. I think that when it got to a point too when I was like, all right, this is 2-2. It is what it is. Like, we got lucky. I'll take it. But then it got to a point, dude, when they awarded the penalty for Ashley Young's dive. I think every fan, you guys can let me know, but I think every United fan in the world, when that happened, we all probably had the same thought of like, you got to be kidding me. Like, come on. Are you kidding me? But hey, what a dive from Ashley Young. It's probably a little bit of his reputation preceding him in that regard, but it was rightly overturned. It was a dive. I could see it was a dive in real time. There's no way anybody naturally falls like that. And it would have been such a shit decision had it stood, because we weren't given one for literally the same exact challenge on the opposite end of the pitch earlier in the match. But I'm not saying ours was a pen. It just, again, it's about consistency. If you're going to make one call, you got to make another call. Agile says Rashford, Sancho, and Anthony out on loan. We didn't bring any in attackers. I'm shocked we didn't bring an attacker in January. We couldn't afford one. Like, you saw what Spurs ended up paying for Matthias Tell. We would never pay that. And if we did, we would have gotten hammered for it by the press. I think it was Tim Howard talking like last week, like, oh, they paid a good price for him. I'm like, Tim, if that would have been United, you would have been saying the exact opposite, man. They paid what, 10 million in loans, or paying all his wages, and it's like a 60 million buy option. Like, again, we couldn't afford the 10 million loan fee. We couldn't afford the wages. It just is what it is. I'm not excusing Ineos 100%. Like I've said many times, that Ineos been a little bit more proactive heading into the January window, being a little bit more aggressive and trying to get a permanent sale for one of these players that was out on loan. We could have had more money. If Rashford wasn't in the squad for a while, like, why weren't we more active in getting something, like planning for that? If we were trying to get rid of Anthony, if we were trying to get rid of Rashford, why weren't we doing anything to replace them? Because we lost our best attacker last week in Ahmad. Like, it's so annoying. Agile says, I'd like to see Scanlon and Biancheri given some games. I don't care if they aren't good enough. Biancheri is good enough. Biancheri is the one that I want to come in and play. He's 18. He'll be 19 in the fall. He's good age. He is exactly what we need in one of those 10 roles. He's good at creating, good at carrying the ball. He gets on the score sheet. I want Biancheri. He's next on my list. He says, I don't care if they aren't good enough. Let's get them some game time, increase their sale value. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on the week ahead of the Ipswich match too, because that might be the best opportunity for some of these youngsters. Matt Hatter says, I don't understand how a club traded on the New York Stock Exchange is broke. It's not a matter of broke, Matt Hatter. It's a matter of PSR. We are skint. Like I've said the other day in that video, if you guys look back when the quarter results, the financial reports came out, we did talk about the debt, the revenue. Our revenue is high, but the problem is our debt is also high. To go back and rehash a little bit, it's PSR. We are skint because we've bought too many players, we spent too much money, we haven't sold enough players. And that's the simple version. The other simple version is we have $1 million in debt between the debt from the Glazers, the $730 million in debt, and then the $300 million in unpaid amortization and in the transfer fees. So $1 million in debt. That's still there. That's not touched, because instead of paying that off, we've only paid the interest, which has now gotten to $1 billion in interest. So $1 billion debt, $1 billion paid in interest. And on top of that, the Glazers every year have taken their dividends every quarter as well. So not only are they putting all their debt on the club and not paying it off, they're continuing to take money. Whether we've made profit or not in a season or in a quarter, they've been taking the money. We have more debt and more interest paid in the debt than the Spurs have paid in their stadium. We could pay for 2 Spurs stadiums with the amount we have in debt and the interest paid on that. That's why we're broke. So again, it wouldn't matter who came in. as far as a PSR standpoint, in terms of, and you could take the richest person in the world, they wouldn't have been able to spend any more in the window than we have, because that's how PSR works. But that's just a little recap of that video, if you guys remember that one from the other day. But it's annoying, to say the least. I wish we could have done something. Like I said, I'm not excusing Ineos. Like I said, they could have done more to plan ahead for that. They knew all these numbers going in before they signed the paperwork, so I don't know what the plan was. I think the plan was just, we're gonna see what we can do and we're gonna figure it out. But the maybe, you know how sometimes we think maybe the club is too big for a player, or the club is too big for a manager. Maybe the club, maybe the situation that they walked into, maybe they're realizing it's too big for them. I don't know. That could be, maybe they realize, oh shit, what did we do? I thought we could do this, what we really can't. I have no idea. Matt Hatter says, thanks for explaining that. I don't understand PSR. PSR is, you'd be forgiven for not quite getting, and I'm not an expert on it by any means. You'd be forgiven for not really understanding a lot of it. Anybody would, because it didn't really start to get cracked down on until recently. Because, and I do think a lot of this has to do with city's charges. I do think that the league has been trying to set more precedent for this. So like Everton and Forest have been cracked down on a little more. But basically, PSR goes by the amount you pay for player transfers, wages, sacking managers and whatnot. All that counts against you. Like, it's basically just, it's net profit on that kind of stuff. And the problem is, this is why like Liverpool, Arsenal weren't really able to sign anybody in January like us. It's because like us, they haven't really sold anybody. They don't have a lot of profit. We don't sell players ever. We haven't had up until recently, we haven't been able to sell anybody. And when we have sold players, unless they're homegrown talent like McTominay or Greenwood, we don't really make a ton of money. Daniel James was one of the only ones that we've signed and actually made money on in recent years. Before that, it was Ronaldo back in like 08, 09. We just don't do well. We overpay. We pay too much in wages, which is why we also shoot ourselves in the foot, because we keep paying too high wages, and then we can't sell these players, and then they all leave for free, like Martial, like Rafael Varane, like David De Gea, and we don't make money. We'll make money on Sancho, because the reason we're making money on Sancho when Chelsea have to pay us is because of, again, the amortization of his fee. When you see a transfer fee, we don't pay all that unless it's a release clause. We don't pay all that up front. It's split up like Chelsea have done. And so we're actually going to make a little money on Sancho's fee when he is sold this summer, because of how much is left to pay down. So it's really confusing. Sacking Dan Ashworth, sacking Ten Hag, paying extra money to bring Amorim in midseason, all that counts against us PSR-wise, which again had a lot more to do. If we would have, the funny thing is, if we would have just told Ashworth, listen, we're keeping you to the end of the year, but you're not going to do shit, and we didn't pay some of that money to sack him, we might have had a little bit more money to throw around in January. I don't know, but PSR is annoying. It does seem like it's supposed to protect clubs from going under by preventing them from spending above their means. It's starting to feel more and more like it's forcing clubs to basically sell their best young players for profit just to strengthen the squad. It's kind of what it feels like. So it is what it is. Again, I'm not an expert. That's probably the extent of my understanding of PSR. And FFP is different. FFP is basically the UEFA version of PSR. So that's like your Champions League and stuff. But it's annoying, man. If you wanted to learn more, you could go listen to like Kieran Maguire. I've got the Price of Football book back here. Kieran Maguire does a podcast as well. The Swedish Rumble on Twitter does a lot of really good stuff with that. But maybe one day I could get someone who's a little bit more of a financial expert on, and we can have a chit chat about that. But Agile says, I think Biancheri looks the real deal, but I would like to see him get his debut in one of those double tens. Yeah, that's where I want him to play. Agile is in one of those tens. I think he is like the Cunha, like the Delap, like the player who can play in that role. And if you need him to in a pinch, he can play a striker as well. He's not big and strong, but he's getting bigger. He's developing physically, but I want him in one of those 10 roles. He's got movement. He's got chance creation. He makes a lot of really good late runs into the box. I love Biancheri. Agile says, PSR really wants you to abide to a manageable operating net turnover. Yeah. And a lot of people are critical of this, but the aim is, again, to prevent clubs from spending outside their means so they don't go under. Because you can't just rely on sponsors and stuff. You have to start generating revenue and stuff like that organically. And you have to, again, not just keep buying. Now, Chelsea have tried to get away with it by splitting their contracts up to like 9 years, which is why rules are here now. But nobody pays a full fee up front unless they pay a release clause. So Agile sales are recognized right away on year one. Expenditures are amortized on a max 5-year period, regardless of the payment terms. Yeah, and that was the other thing that I meant to mention, Mad Hatter, is that when you make a sale, you get to count all that money up front. When you make a purchase of a player, you get to split all that. You only get to count the first payment. So you can sell a player for like 40, count the 40, buy a player for 40, but only count like 10 up front that you paid as your payment. So it looks on paper to PSR like you're making 30 million in that regard, if that makes sense. It's weird. It's so weird. Agile says, I'm an accountant, so it's easy for me to understand. Agile, maybe we'll get you on one day to have a chit chat about money and stuff, because it's not my jam. But again, I think that it helps. In my opinion, it does help to water down a little bit of the frustration and the rage when it comes to the lack of transfer activity and stuff, when you start to understand it a little bit more. Because yes, like I said, Ineos probably could have done a little bit more to be proactive, to get more players out, to plan ahead. But at the same time, anybody that would have come in, whether it was the Sheik, if he's real, or anybody, it could have been Jeff Bezos or whoever, would have still had the same limitations in terms of the actual buying of players, because you're not allowed to spend outside of your own money as an owner, like 105 million over a 3-year period. Everything else has to come from sales. So we've already done that. We've already spent too much. So, and it's not like the owners have spent it. That's the club's money, basically. But getting back to this Everton match, I like talking about it because I do think it, like I said, does help if people understand it a little bit more. But I'm not saying I'm an expert, but it does help. We are on 15th still, 30 points now. Woo, a point. Level with West Ham, though. They did manage a big win over Arsenal today. So if you want to take a moment to laugh about that, you can. They'll probably, though, get another win against Leicester because they played Leicester next and everybody beats Leicester. So if we don't win, we're going to be down in 16th. If West Ham beat Leicester and we lose our next match against Ipswich, if we fuck up against Ipswich on Wednesday, we are in 16th place, y'all. Under normal circumstances, like I said, this Ipswich match is going to be about as close as it gets to a free hit to try the youngsters. But again, I'm not looking at any match as a guaranteed 3 points, let alone a guaranteed draw at this point. Ipswich have bloodied a few noses of some big clubs. They held us to a 1-1 draw under Rude. I think, it was Amorim's like first match as well. So, but we'll preview that one a little bit later on. Currently 13 points above the drop zone, though, so there's that. We'd have to, lose 4 in a row to drop below, and everybody below us would have to win 4 in a row for us to go into relegation. So, fingers crossed, right? In more positive news, the under-18s did beat Blackburn today 2-1. Musa and Ibrahimov on the score sheet. So again, positivity there. Future does look bright. I wish that it was on MUTV because I literally would have rather watched that than watch this shit show that we saw today against Everton. But what are you going to do? But that is going to be it from me, guys. A little bit of a longer match reaction, but I love it. I love getting everybody involved. I love getting the conversation going, hearing your guys' thoughts. And more importantly, that's why I'm here. I don't do this just to talk for an hour and a half. I want to hear what you guys have to say. But let me know your thoughts in the comments if you've got more to add, if you weren't able to catch the live. Please like the video for me on your way out. It does help. Subscribe if you're new. We are on the road to 3K. With your help, I think we can get there. Check out the memberships, too, if you get a chance. There's a lot of options in there. I'd love to get you guys more involved. I think that it could be fun to get a couple of you even on virtually one day to join in the conversation. So until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. With still some Premier League action tomorrow as well. I think is it City Liverpool tomorrow? I forgot already. I was too busy laughing at Arsenal all day. So let me go see what these matches are tomorrow here. It is City Liverpool. So a couple of actually pretty decent matches. We've got Newcastle versus Forest, City Liverpool tomorrow. That's going to be fun. And then anything else interesting going on in any of these other leagues? No, not really. So City, Liverpool, Real Madrid, Girona. It could be interesting, but yeah. So we'll be watching that City Liverpool match probably. We'll see if it's going to be a boring 1-1 draw or if Pep are going to stumble. Pep might be looking for a response after that Champions League exit, but we'll see. Until next time, guys, thank you for stopping by. Thank you, everybody, for getting involved in the chat. Again, like the video, subscribe if you're new. I will see you on the next one. Later.